Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of July 2023. I hope you're well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today. Just before we begin, if the reading resonates and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is the first link in the description box. Second link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on Circle. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost. You get to hang out with a truly extraordinary group of people, and we started lining up classes and stuff like that there as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, you know what to do. Now, Sagittarius, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Give me 3 cards for Sagittarius, please. Thank you. We have the Magician in your recent past. What about current energy, please, for Sagittarius? We have the Star. I'm going to flip this around so you can see it. And one more card. What's coming towards Sagittarius, please? Sagittarius, please, for the month of July. Oh, goodness. It's such a graceful little pirouette out of the deck there. It's astonishing. Well, Ace of Swords, Ace of Pentacles. I'm going to move that light around the way. You don't need to see that. How extraordinary, Sag. I really, really like this. So, before I say anything, let's get some, let's get some clarifiers out and put some meat on the bones of this, although this looks to be really quite extraordinary. And there have been a few signs that have had some extraordinary energies at play this month, but I think this one takes the biscuit, so let's have a look, see what's going on here. Tell me about the Magician, please. Why is that here for Sag? Oh, Judgment. Thank you. We have the Page of Wands, of course. Tell me about the Star. Thank you. Oh, interesting. Sorry, Sag. I mean, just really behave. Right. Tell me about the Ace of Pentacles, please. Right. Okay. Just take a minute to drink this scene in, please, while I just straighten these cards out, because what the actual fuck? Like, come now. Fuck me, I don't even know where to start with this. Right. As you can no doubt tell from my reaction, there's a lot of really big energy going on here for you right now. To explain more simply, the tarot is divided into major and minor arcana. The word arcana actually just means work. I don't know if you're aware of that. It means work, right? So the major work and the minor work. It doesn't speak to how important the card is, because quite often, you know, the really significant things happen in the minor arcana, but I'll get to that in a second. The major arcana are like these kind of they're energies and experiences that the universe lines up for you, right, to experience. And you have essentially no control over these. This is what the universe is sending at you. And the only place where you get to have any control whatsoever is in your responses to that. And that's what we find contained in the minor arcana. You've got 3 minor arcana, which is really, really interesting. So the interplay between the two is, you know, a big major arcana energy happens at you, and you have an array of choices before you, and you dictate what lessons or experiences you draw from the big universal energy that is at play with you, whether you choose to repeat a cycle, whether you choose to break out of it, whether you choose to expand out of your comfort zone, or whether you contract into your default, right? Those energies are found in the minor arcana. They are the things that you have control over, the way that you do things. Now, I learned an interesting fact yesterday from my mentor, which actually was probably really easy to work out, and I'd never really thought about it before, which is that the minor arcana comprises 28% of the total cards in the tarot. And so in any given tarot reading, you would be looking at roughly what you would want to see if everything was even and well. Roughly 28% of your reading being major arcana. Maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 40%, you know, but like within that margin at least. Once you start having more major arcana than that, you must be aware that there are huge energies at play. And I think certainly with the ratio that we've got on the table here, there's very little, I think, that is required of you to do, save pay attention and allow yourself to go with the flow, I think, because this is the most ludicrous fucking reading I've seen in this whole round of readings, actually. And I don't mean it's terrible or awful, and I'm certainly not mocking it. I'm saying I am genuinely overwhelmed with what's coming out here, and perhaps there's a reflection of that will be experienced by you, because each one of these major arcana cards, and we do have the Magician here twice, it is bookending the reading, which is very important. Speaks to a different aspect of your existence. Now, these are not discrete sections of your existence, because obviously everything that is within your experience is a facet of who you are and what you're experiencing at any given point. There is kind of like a cohesive web of experience that is going on here, and each one of these major arcana energies is working on a different facet of it, and the common denominator, obviously in the centre of it, is you, Sagittarius. Now, the Justice card at the bottom of the deck speaks to this being a highly karmic time. I want to say that again because I want you to really understand what I'm saying. It is a highly karmic time, and one that actually feels to me like it is completely altering your life, the course of your life, the path of your life somewhat. We don't have the Tower, we don't have any of the more traditionally kind of considered malignant energies, although I would take issue with that because I don't think any of the scary cards in the tarot are actually scary. I think they're huge blessings, but there's nothing terrifying going on here. But what we have is every facet of your being somehow tweaked, twisted, turned, like fully revolved to a new direction. And this is extraordinary. Not only is it extraordinary, but the fact that the Magician is here at both ends of the reading suggests to me that there is a level of competence, awareness, confidence, even when we say like being in charge of one's reality, right? Because the Magician card is about manifestation. But after the tweaks and the twists and the revolution towards a different path, we have an amplified version of what you are already experiencing starting to emerge by the end of July. I would go as far as to say, like, this month is life-changing for you. And possibly not for reasons that you'd anticipated. Now, it could be for some of you that you already have an inkling about what this involves. And I would say actually it's probably for more than a few of you, because the Magician is right here, right? There's that sense of manifestation. Here is something that I am bringing into being. I think what you don't anticipate is quite how life-changing the process is going to be, right? So, I feel like when my daughter info dumps on me and she actually has to stop for breath because she just, said things really, very, very excited. I need to take just a minute to fucking center my shit, right? This is definitely a pull up and get comfy reading. So, like I said, we start with the Magician over here, and the Magician speaks about your capabilities. More than that, he talks about your ability to be able to take the elements, you know, the aces all represent the elements, stick them on your personal table and say, I'm going to combine these with my will and manifest the kind of life that I want for myself, right? It's an extraordinarily powerful card of active intent to create something. One of the interesting things that I came across recently, I bought a really old book from a really cool bookshop that I found on Instagram called Hill of Dust Books or something. Oh, it's something like that, right? And I was flicking through this book, which I had seen recommended somewhere, and it was one of these books that's just really fucking hard to get hold of, and I managed to find it. But it was talking about the position of the Magician and the High Priestess. And if you watch my videos for a while, you remember that I say that they are the true power couple of the major arcana as far as I'm concerned. A lot of books will tell you that it is the Emperor and the Empress. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but Magician and the High Priestess together are next level stuff. And what it said in this book was that the Magician and the High Priestess should be considered the heavenly parents of the Fool, where the Empress and the Emperor were the earthly parents of the Fool. And I was like, bingo, that chimes so fucking hard with what I understand, right? So when you think about the archetypal father, as the Magician is, right? It's about the active doing, it's the active protecting, it's the active drawing in, it's the active manifestation. Now, don't want to upset people, and into thinking that we're kind of like blurring or going back to traditional gender roles or anything like that, right? The tarot doesn't care. The tarot is about the expression of energy. Active masculine, where the High Priestess is passive feminine, right? Just hold those two. And we have both of those energies within us. It's something that requires balance, you know? So you've got this kind of slightly paternal edge of the Magician, and you've got correspondingly, you know, a sense of duty, a sense of responsibility, a sense of protection, you know, all of these things that kind of build into this kind of archetype. But you have the addition of magic, you have the addition of your will, you have the addition of being able to actively influence your environment rather than passively influence it, right? The Magician says you are bound only by the limits of your own imagination. And I've met a few Saggies now. Your imagination is just off the fucking charts anyway, right? So correspondingly, the level at which you are bound is considerably less than certain other signs, we would say, right? And we have the Judgment card here and the Page of Wands. Now, for some Sagittarians, I'm not going to say all of you, but certainly a proportion of you, there has been this idea that has been permeating through the readings of the last few months that you are on the brink of something life-changing. Now, this isn't something that's just kind of galloping towards you and it's going to broadside you and you're just going, oh, holy shit, right, there's a thing, and pivot off to that. This is something that is intentional. Magician, there's an intentional change of life coming up for some of you here, something that you have been working towards, something that you have been perhaps in a state of active manifestation about. The Judgment card talks about life-changing decisions. It also talks about rebirth and things like this, and there's a process here, I feel, of rebirth that is opening up for you. Now, this is recent past here, so I have to say, like, some of this has already happened, but this Page of Wands is talking about the preparation. Now, your card is the Knight of Wands, and I know most Sagittarians would like to bounce straight to the Knight and then straight to the Ace of Wands and just bouncing around and having all these things. But there's a distinct order that it seems to me that you know that things need to be done. There's something very, very committed and very, very focused about your energy at the moment. Now, you get a bad rap sometimes for being a little bit, what's the word that I'm looking for? Inconsistent. Let's put it that way. Because you see one thing and you like the thing, and then you go off in that direction, and then it's there, and then it's there, and then it's there, and it's down here, right? I think that's untrue, actually. It happens sometimes, but you're capable of intense focus. when it's something that you're really invested in, when it's something that you really, really want, you can focus like a fucking Scorpio, I think. That's my opinion. The pair of you got quite a lot in common. But the Page of Wands is like there are necessary steps that have to be completed first, right? We can start to prepare, though. We can prepare for the movement rather than engaging in the movement. And this is what we've got going on here in the recent past. I feel like there's been some sort of internal adjustment to the idea of the movement. And I don't know, I think it's because of the level at which you are looking to change your life, Sagittarius. It's like having been in a paddock for your entire existence. Right? There's the edges of your environment, and you've known what rules and regulations and things like that you could buck, what you could rebel against, you know, and you've got actually quite comfortable in pushing at the edges of your environment, but kind of knowing where the line is, right? And I think that's part of the Sagittarius experience, is to live at the extremes, to be able to work out where their centre is. But I think what's really been playing out over the course of this year for you is the idea that there's a whole fucking world outside of your paddock. And what started as a fleeting awareness and something that actually really did capture your attention is now beginning to take shape in reality. And the preparation is for, you know, whatever is going to need to happen for you to exit your paddock and start exploring the world. And there's had to be a little bit of an adjustment from that, because it's one thing to be a big fish in a little pond. It's quite another to be a little fish in an absolute immense ocean. And although you're absolutely, as my partner would put it, up for the frisk, there have been things that have needed to change within you to get yourself to a point where you feel like you are ready to start taking this on board, right? That seems to me to be absolutely evident. Let's pull one more card, and I'll just pull this John Bauer deck up because I love this deck. Hey, tell me about this Page of Wands and the Judgment card. Thank you. Four of Pentacles, for sure. And the Hierophant, yeah. I mean, just dropping in that Wheel of Fortune again for a second time. This is really interesting because the Four of Pentacles can speak conversely to the things that you hold on to tightly to, right? Those things that need to be released. But it can also talk about the things that hold value and should be held on to you, by you. And the necessity to be able to sift between those two things, to know what is actually important, what you stand for, what it is that holds value for you. The nature of what, well, without getting too deep on you, the nature of what value actually is to you, Sagittarius. Because although it sounds like something that should be relatively consistent across everyone, I do feel like it changes sign by sign. You know, say, for example, to a Scorpio, loyalty is everything, right? If there's no loyalty, there's nothing. Gone. Dead, right? No interest in it whatsoever. Because that is what they bring, right? And they want to see that matched in the people that they're with. For, say, Taurus, the value is in what is built that is which is built to last forever, right? Whatever they are involved in, it has to have roots, it has to be grounded, it has to be strong, it has to support a lot of things above it. And it could well be that what's been going on recently for you is you questioning what the nature of value is and what it means to you, and then correspondingly of all of the experiences that you are currently open to or currently engaged with, what are the things that are so important that they need to be carried forward, right? What is it about these things that chimes so hard with the personal value of you that they must be retained? And what things have actually just been held onto for the sake of holding onto. And the Hierophant is quite an interesting card in this regard, because not only does it represent Taurus, and we're talking about a kind of, fixed Earth, which is about as slow as it's possible to be, and certainly polar extreme to your energy is mutable fire. But one of the things that I really like about the Hierophant is this, it speaks about structure, but it also has this aspect of heritage and legacy. So we have the idea of what it is that you have taken in, right? What is your provenance? What is the narrative that you have told yourself? What is the story of Sagittarian existence? What has it been characterized by? What kind of reality has this created for you? And correspondingly, what kind of restrictions has this created for you? What kind of... where has it shown you what needed to be rebelled against and what needed to be valued? And the question for me that it seems that these cards are showing up here is, how much of what you have taken in still applies? Now this is where your Sagittarian energy can begin to work on the Hierophant. Because the Hierophant is, it's got huge Catholic overtones, and it's a card I really didn't get on with for the longest time, which is interesting because it corresponded with the amount of time that I really didn't get on with Taurus either, because I didn't understand the nature of the card. Now, yes, it does have that shadowy energy of, hierarchical thinking and, rigidity, inflexibility, and that's kind of like a creaking edifice of something that just is now so big it can't fall over. Everybody just has to do as they're told, right? Those kind of energies are the sort of thing that I get off the shadowy aspect of the Hierophant. But it also speaks to the position of the Hierophant as a teacher, the decoder of the sacred mysteries. I actually looked up what Hierophant, I looked up the derivations of the word, or the etymology of the word, because I realised that I didn't know what Hiero actually meant. And that's what it means. You put it together, it's like a decoder of the sacred mysteries, like a priest of the sacred and the profane, pretty much. And we come to this idea that our experiences, our history, if you will, and then correspondingly the legacy that we almost let out again on autopilot without really thinking about it. Those things that we perpetuate, those cycles, all that sort of stuff, can be incredibly restrictive, right? We reach a place where often that is incredibly restricted, and in our attempt to individuate away from the family unit, a religion that we've been indoctrinated into, anything like that has that kind of formalized structure. So there is the capacity for that experience to actually be your greatest teacher, right? In the individuating away from it. It's not that the Hierophant ceases to serve a purpose, it's that its purpose shifts. And so rather than just taking in subconsciously one thing and then regurgitating it, it's like take it in, process it, alchemize it, do those Sagittarian things to it. What does this say to you about your own personal philosophy? Is it something that can bend and flex in the wind, or has it been too rigid? The Hierophant can say, you can look at all of these things and start extricating what is actually valuable. Because it seems to me, Sagittarius, that you have actually reached a point of maturity now where you can differentiate. And I'm not talking about rebelling for rebelling's sake, or even aligning for aligning's sake. It's taking everything on its merits and saying, as I am now, with the wisdom that I have now, and the life that I actually am, engaged in trying to create for myself, what holds true value? What does value look like to me? Because I guarantee it is not what it looked like to you 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe even 2-3 years ago. You have changed. It seems to me like you're having much more of a handle on your reality than you ever have done before. And there's awareness of what has been fixed and rigid and inflexible within you. And rather than just rejecting it and going, that's disgusting, maybe I'll shove that into my shadow, or or whatever, just completely try and disavow that. It's like turning around to interrogate it and saying, what can you teach me about the way that I have been? Now, when we move into the Star card, into the present energy, it's an energy of, it's a beautiful energy, right? It's Aquarius. I should just point out that the Magician is Gemini or Virgo, right? It's it's the card of Aquarius, and it speaks to a number of things. I mean, all of the cards in the tarot are multivalent, right? So we have these notions of healing, like being washed clean by the water under the light of the star, right? We have the future. What does the future hold? I mean, it's up there, it's away, it's slightly out of reach, but it is something that perhaps is guiding us. It speaks of connection too. I mean, sometimes we talk about technology and all those kind of things, right? But it's also sometimes called the wish card. It's called, it refers to your highest goals, hopes, dreams and aspirations. And we can see how this ties into the cards that we've been talking about before, because one of the skills that you have, Sagittarius, is to be able to visualize. And I think what this is talking about here is the extent to which your visualizations have been capped, almost, by a certain set of expectations or preconceptions that you have held about the world and the way that everything operates. Maybe it's even about yourself, that are now starting to evolve into something else. I mean, we're truly kind of pushing the boundaries, or pushing the walls of our existence out just a little bit, because all of you seem like you're ready to do some sort of big change, which may or may not involve, for example, completely retraining in some sort of different discipline, for work or for pleasure or for whatever, right? Maybe moving, and not just moving down the road, but like literally uprooting yourself and going in some sort of different direction. What else? There's a lot to be said about the cultural differences that you seem to be priming yourself to get ready to experience. And I'm reminded of a clip that a friend of mine once sent me. It's a chap who's Cancer, who I haven't seen in a few years now. He sent me a clip, and it was of Terence McKenna. And it was only maybe about 4 or 5 minutes long, but it was exactly what I needed to hear right at that point. The one thing that I remember from that little clip was Terence McKenna saying the words, "Culture is your operating system." And I went, oh. And I was at my old house, and I'd been listening to it in the doorway, having a tab out the back in my yard. And I actually had to turn around and sit down on the step while the implications of that rattled through my brain and everything. Because if culture is your operating system, then there are all sorts of unspoken things. Fuck you. Aye. There are all sorts of unspoken things that are rattling around in your subconscious that never really see the light of day. And we can talk about those things in terms of, restrictions like cultural expectations. You must behave this way, you must behave this way towards this set of people, and you have to be like this towards this set of people. You have to be very deferent, full of deference to these kind of people, stuff like that. It could be like that. But it could be around how you as an individual express your creativity or express your individuality. I mean, maybe you're not allowed to express your individuality or your creativity. Maybe there's maybe there are restrictions around the experience of your own spirituality. we can see it in terms of that, but there's something a little bit more to it here. And whether it's through exposure to different people, there's some fucking heavy ninth house shit going on here. Like, that's what I'm feeling, really quite strong. Like, the cultural aspect of this is huge. So whether it's through exposure to new kinds of people, right, coming from places that you have not experienced before, so you get an insight into what it is like to be born naturally in that culture and develop a certain kind of philosophy, personal philosophy that is based on that level of input from them, you know, that has you then start questioning your hierophant, as it were. There seems to be something really delicious springing up holistically here for you, and yet so intentional. Excuse me, hiccups. So intentional at the same time. I mean, I can't get rid of this fucking Wheel of Fortune. Sagittarius is following you around. I mean, it's your card, for sure. But behave as if you didn't have enough fucking major arcana as it is. This is like, here's your card again and again and again. Like, the whole nature of your existence is changing, right? The anchor points that have been the edges of your reality, your paddock, your little pond, if you want to put it that way, are about to expand outwards at a rate that it feels to me, you have not experienced before. Not to this level. What did I want to look at? I can't even fucking remember. I've just been rattling on so hard. Culture. Thank you. We've got the King of Cups. Scorpio energy. We've got the King of Pentacles, and we've got the Universe, which is the World card, sitting in between. Now, whenever the World card or the Universe shows up here, we've got the end of a cycle, and I think just with what I've said already, it's clear to see that the end of a cycle is rapidly approaching, because you seem to be being pinged off into a new one. Like, even if we just ignored the fact that the Fool is there, with everything that I've been saying so far, we can get that sense of completion that's coming in. But more importantly, that sense of graduation, expansion that comes from it. But here we have the King of Cups and the King of Pentacles, not the King of Wands, which would be your king, but instead the King of emotion and feeling and mastery thereof, and also the King of practicality here, but also the King of delayed gratification. Right? The king who is interested in building a future for himself, and he doesn't need the instant gratification, which is what we associate with Sagittarius, right, in the here and now. He's like, no, I've got a 5-year plan. It's really funny, right? My Capricorn ex-husband had a 5-year plan, and I thought that was just a him thing, but then it turns out that lots of Capricorns, it's kind of a thing that they do. They have a 5-year plan. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing, right? But it's even more amazing when it's showing up for you, Sagittarius, because you have not ever been associated with delayed gratification, right? Quite the reverse. It's the instant, spontaneous, here and now hedonism, the instant gratification. Things are easier here, I'm going to stay here. Things are more fun here, I'm going to stay here. As soon as they stop being fun, and there's fun that's possible to have somewhere else, then I'll gallivant off in that direction, right? But this is really focused, really applied, really mature energies. And it is all circulating around this idea of what your future holds here, the way that you're going to plan to provide for it, and then how you're going to experience it, and how it culturally changes you. You know, maybe you've only just come across tarot as a thing, right? And maybe you're listening to this reading and this is the first thing that you've ever heard about tarot, and you're like, oh, this is interesting, you know. And from here, for example, perhaps you decide that actually what you want to go and look into is something like fucking ceremonial magic or something like that, right? And you discover that there is this whole fucking huge area that people have devoted their entire fucking lives to, you know, contributing to this body of knowledge, and you're like, holy shit, that's my path, that's where I need to go, right? Or maybe it's Reiki, or maybe it's fucking, I don't know, Give me another thing. Maybe it's mediumship. Maybe it's any one of a number of things, right, that could sit within an esoteric modality kind of framework. But maybe it's something else altogether. Maybe you just want to learn a language because that opens you up to new experiences. Oh, I listened to a really interesting chap the other day. And he said one of the things that really helped him with critical thinking was the fact that he was brought up speaking two languages. So his mother was French and his father was English. And I assume they did the, one parent, one language thing, Opal thing that it's called. So the mother only spoke in French and the father only spoke in English, or whichever way it was around, right? And as he got older, he realised that if there was something that he was struggling with, something of a moral or ethical, that had a moral or ethical dimension to it, he'd lay out the situation to himself in one language and then he'd flip it over and he'd lay it out in a different language, right, using the words that came to there. And there were words that had a slightly different feel to them, either a slightly pejorative overtone or a much more positive overtone when it was in one language over another. And he started using that as a way of kind of guiding himself forwards. And he said that for him it really, really worked. When we're talking about this kind of level of cultural enrichment, cultural enhancement, but certainly like paradigm shifting experiences, your paradigm shifting experiences, ones that are showing you that the paddock is not all that there is and there's a whole fucking world out there that is ready for you to start dipping your toe into. What I'm seeing here is a shift in you that is rooting you to the new experiences. And you might say, well, that's not an unusual thing for Sagittarius. That's what Sagittarius does, always seeking out the new experiences. But this is committing yourself to, rooting yourself to, allowing yourself to be taught by. There's an openness with the idea of a whole new way of existing. And the fact that you are bringing to the table the King of Cups, that emotional maturation. You know what your emotions are. You understand your emotions now in a way that you never have before. And you are willing to commit to this beyond the instant, beyond the flicker of a flame. This is fucking massive. It's absolutely enormous. And it begins here with the Fool. Like, whether you're ready for it or not, the time has arrived for you to, quite frankly, throw yourself into the void. Now, the lesson of the Fool is what protects him is the blind trust and the blind faith. Two things that I feel, maybe they might have some slightly pejorative overtones of themselves, but we've discussed the way that you can put on your faith when you need to. You can pick it up like a big, warm, sparkly cloak or something, and just put it around your shoulders, and you're like, here is a point where I am going to have faith. Trust myself, trust the universe, trust the process, trust the new. Trust the swan diving off the board into the unknown that I seem to be about to do. And also correspondingly, trust and have faith in the fact that I am now in the actual act of building what my life will be henceforth moving forwards. And there's going to be some hard work with that, for sure, but it's fine. There's stamina here, there's motivation here, there's a far more long-term view that you seem to be taking than you have ever taken before. I mean, this isn't like, I don't know, the teenage Sagittarius, like discovering drugs and fucking nightclubs for the first time or anything like that, right? That's a paradigm shifter for you. Ooh, is a whole new way to be extreme and dangerous and all that sort of thing. And it's not about, discovering motorbikes and that you can go really fast on those, and that's cool. All of the kind of within the paddock kind of experiences that have proven to be the pushing at the edges of your reality kind of experience up until now. This is so new. And your culture being your operating system is about to get a hella fucking upgrade. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. When we come to July, we have the Ace of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Magician. We have the Justice card at the bottom of the deck, which is already giving us an idea that there is a karmic aspect to what's going on here. But we've also seen the Wheel of Fortune 3 times. And we pin this to the Justice card, and it's like, shit's about to get really, really real, Sagittarius. Like, everything's about to get flipped upside down in the best possible way, because everything that comes from here is new. Everything that comes from here is paradigm shifting and consciousness expanding. And you're so ready for it. It might have been a little overwhelming at any point before now. Sagittarians crave new experiences. It's how you understand the world. I think that's a mutable sign thing altogether, actually. It's the new. With you, it's new experiences. With Gemini, it's new information. With Pisces, it's new feelings, With Virgo, it's quite obviously like new efficiencies, like new ways of making things run better, stuff like that. But whenever you have the Wheel of Fortune show up, and these 3 cards, it's karma stepping in. Like it's going, welcome to your destiny, Sagittarius. That's what those 3 cards say to me. When they show up in the same reading and as close together, when we've got so few cards on the table as we have, Judgment, Justice, Wheel of Fortune together. Absolute paradigm shift. And I'm going to have to come up with a fucking title for it, because I'm pretty sure I called somebody else's video Paradigm Shift this month. Anyway, we'll come up with something, don't worry. We've also got the Ace of Swords. Now, the Ace of Swords is the epiphany, right? The Ace of Swords is new potential for the way that your mind works. If culture is your operating system, then the rig that you're running it on is your literal fucking brain, which is represented by the Ace of Swords. Swords generally, actually, but in this instance, the Ace of Swords. Everything is getting changed, right? It's like, I will go as far as to say, Sagittarius, you're a different person by the end of July compared to the beginning of July, right? And you're already pretty happy with the progress that you've made with yourself, right? The way that you kind of channeling this shit down, being like, yeah, I'm fucking working all of this out, this is fucking insane, this is awesome. Like, you are different. You are an altered person. Now, that's not to say that there's much that's fixed or rigid about you anyway. There's all that flexibility, but it's almost in your flexibility that there's your fixedness, there's your consistency, right? It's in the ability to be able to flit about. But these solid energies of the Hierophant and the King of Cups and the King of Pentacles here, it's like Sagittarius has grown up. And now Sagittarius recognizes that it is possible to simultaneously have mind-blowing experiences in the present whilst also being able to build for the future. To have a plan, to have this delayed gratification thing in play, because there is so much more. And this month is about expanding your mind to the point where you can perceive not just that there's more to know, but seeing what it is that you don't know, if you know what I mean, right? Fucking hell. The Ace of Pentacles is for me a point of attention. It's a point of focus. As if you didn't seem focused enough already, you know, during the course of this reading here. This is a renewed focus, and where attention goes, energy flows, and you are attending to something very, very particular here this month. We've got the King of Pentacles there, who is, you know, whenever you have an ace show up, ideally you'd like a king to be wielding it, right? And the Ace of Pentacles can talk variously about different things. It can talk about, you know, a new car, a new house, a new job, a promotion or something like that, right? Often it's a way of improving your material circumstances. So, you know, you need some money. It's not that you're going to win the lottery, but suddenly a friend rings you up and went, you know, I've got a couple of gubby jobs. Do you want to come in, give us a hand? I'll give you a couple of £100 for come and give me a hand with this thing. And you're like, bingo, there it is, you know. That's the energy of the Ace of Pentacles there. But this is very specific, because this feels like it's the first point of personal investment. It might not be the first point of personal investment, but at the same time, it is the first point of personal investment, where you are truly focusing on the very first step of the life that you are wanting to create moving forwards, right? The pentacle has to be planted, and then it has to be cared for. It has to be watered. It has to be in the right soil. You know, the environmental conditions need to be right. You're not going to plant it on a floodplain if it's a cactus, right? It's just not going to work. You're also not going to fucking plant rice in the desert, right? These things are all important, and these are things that you've paid attention to. In some ways, I feel like the seed is planted in you, Sagittarius. Although there is a material expression of this outside of you, the seed is planted in you. It's the first step towards an entirely different kind of fucking life. And I feel like the escalation is rapid for you this month. I think this is the only way to put it. It's just completely fucking rapid. So there are, you know, the Wheel of Fortune can talk about the things that we learn. Often the things in and of themselves that alter us quite fundamentally. And we've got the 4 fixed signs reading the books down here, right? They're in a course of study here. But I think even for you, alright, for any other sign, I think what would be going on here is essentially sensory overload, and it's just not for you. It's just a rapid ascension, a rapid escalation, rapid amplification of focus, of attention, of working on the first step of the rest of your life. And here's the Magician again. I think whatever the Magician looks like at this end of the month for you, I feel like it's almost unrecognizable to it at this end of the month, because what's increased is confidence and assuredness, commitment, dedication. All these things are all piling in to something that is really, really important to you. Let's go one card for that, and then we're going to fuck over to the extended, because it's wild. If this card is what I think it is, I don't fucking know what else to say, Sagittarius. If I had a mic in my hand, I'd drop it, but it's just here, so I'd have to knock it over, and that'd just be really annoying. The fucking Magician. Right? The 8 of Swords is at the bottom of the deck here, and that is just fucking glorious, because, you know, the beautiful energy of the 8 of Swords is in the recognition of the 8 of Swords. It's not while you're experiencing it and you're being like, oh my god, I'm trapped, I can't decide what to do, everything feels so fucking hard. That sucks. We don't enjoy that. But in the moment where we recognise that we are in an 8 of Swords state, suddenly everything makes sense. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I am just being too narrow in the way that I am thinking about something, or I am holding on to something too hard, or I'm doing something, right? I'm unwilling to compromise somewhere, right? Somewhere I'm being inflexible and rigid, where actually what's required from me is a bit of mutability, is a bit of, things, and particularly in the way that we think. So this card is a blessing. This energy is a blessing when we recognize it for what it is, because we're like, oh, I can fucking totally change my paradigm. I can totally shift anything. And there it is. Like the Magician here, fucking twice. I just can't even. For someone who's always been so open-minded as you are, I think that that this month is about seeing how much more open you could be, how many more new experiences there are, totally different ways to experience reality, because culturally something is changing for you. Like it's that profound. The operating system is changing, and maybe the hardware is getting some sort of upgrade somehow as well. I don't know. This is an incredibly powerful time, an incredibly karmic time. I'm not sure that there's much that you can do to put a foot wrong here, Sagittarius, to be honest, because you do seem to be being guided. There's something very fated about the steps that you are taking this month, where it is taking you, what it is showing you, the people that you're being exposed to, the new everything that you're being exposed to. And you're so ready. You're so very fucking ready for it. One Magician squared by the end of the month. Oh, there you go. There's the title for the video. I'll call it Magician Squared. Like, when we talk about the ability to be able to create your own reality, most people struggle with that. I think because of your abilities, your manifestation of abilities, and it's something that I've noticed. Capricorn, Sagittarius, Scorpio, all those signs that are born at the arse end of the year, where everything's dark and bleak and there is no fucking sunlight and all that kind of thing, right? Food is scarce, all that sort of stuff. They have the visualization abilities to be able to see where something can go, right? It's literally, the seed of it is literally born in their minds at that time, and then they go after it, right? Manifestation's always been something that's pretty easy for you, but this is about to ramp up a notch. This is about to escalate, and it's because of your willingness to absolutely throw yourself into an entirely different set of experiences. The growth is phenomenal, Sagittarius. Right, fuck me. I'm gonna go have a fucking lie down. I'm not. I'm gonna go do your extended now, actually. Wow. Let me know in the comments what's going on with you, because I am really fucking nosy and like shit. Holy shit. I'm going to go because I'll just start swearing again, and then people will get upset with me like they did last month. And start telling me how disgusting I am. So I'll save that for Vimeo. Alright, know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.